Hello, welcome to O Channel O Health. I'm your dietitian Jeremy.
I'm a nutritionist Wen-Xin.
Hey Wen-Xin, today we have to wish everyone Happy
Chap
Chap Gomei! Now
Wow.
today is the 15th day of the Chinese New Year, but I
Yes.
believe celebration has not ended yet.
Why?
And because every day is a feasting day.
Wow!
Alright, so coming back to the topic today. Now before we talk about what we're going to talk about today, right? So I will ask Wen-Xin a question first. Wen-Xin, do you like to drink hot tea?
Personally, I'm not the kind of hot tea person. First, I don't like to drink tea.
Oh, okay.
Secondly, I cannot withstand very hot food. I would like to
Oh.
blow them until they are maybe at reach the room temperature. Only I can able to drink. But I know many Asian moms
Yes.
after they cook just hot from the pot, and they
Yes.
ask their child, come and
Must
eat.
drink it while it's
Must-
hot.
yes,
You cannot wait until it's cool. It's not good for the body.
Yes, yes.
Even all the akong ama, they like to drink the hot tea, coffee. They want it piping hot, and then sip it slowly. But do you know a long chronic habit of drinking very hot beverages, whether it is tea, whether it's coffee, or whether even your foods? Sometimes you
Soup.
tapao soup, or even those mala火锅, those mala hot
yeah.
pot. Those are piping hot. Wow, you really enjoy it because sometimes in cold weather, then you want something hot, you keep drinking it, like, really shock. But do you know there is a hidden risk of drinking too much of hot drinks or even hot foods?
Yes, not only hot foods and drink. Actually, there are quite a lot of eating habits that we general people are doing it without unawarely.
Yes, correct.
We do not know that this will cause a cancer known as
Esophageal cancer. So this is in conjunction with the World Cancer Day that was already passed on the 4th of February. So today we're going to talk about esophageal cancer. Now before we go deep into esophageal cancer, we were talking about the hot foods, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like we creating stories, there have been news articles, there have been research articles that came through saying that long-term consumption of hot foods or hot drinks can lead to esophageal cancer. Now we see the first news that actually came through. Actually, this story came very, very long ago. Even in the 1930s, there were already some researchers back then noticed that drinking hot foods or hot drinks can lead to cancer. And this was another study that was done in Iran. That was actually published in this. You can see that drinking hot tea could elevate your risk of getting esophageal cancer. According to a new study, regularly drinking very hot tea could increase the risk of esophageal cancer. Now why? Because according to this Iran study, they actually had a few large group of people, and then they actually took like 700 milliliters or more of tea, hot tea above 70 degrees Celsius every day, and they actually found that they had a higher risk of developing esophageal cancer. So it triggered the interest of many scientists worldwide, and then in 2016, the World Health Organization actually classified drinking hot drinks or hot foods could put you at risk of cancer, which is a form of carcinogen. It's not the drink itself, but it is the temperature of the foods of the drinks.
Yes, but before that, some of our viewers may wonder, actually, what is esophageal cancer? First, we have to come to know what is esophagus.
Yes, correct. So today, we're going to see this esophagus over here. Now, esophagus is actually a hollow muscular tube. You imagine it as a hose, that connects your mouth, to the stomach.
Yeah, some people call this as a food pipe because it's really like a pipe. When you're eating food, the food will travel from your mouth through to your stomach. So it's like a pipe.
Yes, correct. So it comes together with the liquids, the saliva, the chewed foods, the broken down pieces. So it has to transport these broken down materials into the stomach for further digestion. So this is actually a food pipe. So why is it so sensitive? What does it mean when someone has esophageal cancer?
So actually, esophageal cancer means that there's a cancerous cells growing at any part of your esophagus. It can be at the
lining,
can be at the upper part, middle part, or lower part near to the stomach.
Yes, correct. There are actually two types of esophageal cancer. One is the squamous cell carcinoma, which actually happens at the lining of the esophagus, whereas the other one called the adenocarcinoma, which happens at the mucus layer. All right. Now these two, what are the differences? Actually, at the structural differences of the cancer. And for adenocarcinoma, usually it happens at the lower esophagus, which is nearer to the stomach. Okay, because probably you have heard about acid reflux, and then you know, GERD, and then there are some heartburn. So prolonged acid reflux into the esophagus can actually trigger some cell changes.
Yeah, so here we have two image through gastroscopy, which they insert a really tiny tube with camera inside your esophagus. And see, this is a condition where cancer cells are growing at the lining of the esophagus. It's quite, you see that there's a like a growth, yeah, which narrows down the esophagus.
Yes, correct. So now why do we say that esophageal cancer is quite dangerous? It's because it is actually a usual silent cancer, okay, silent killer, meaning that it doesn't bring much signs and symptoms. And again, when normally when people notice it, okay, it could be already at the very last or late advanced stages, all right? And according to this chart, you can see that esophagus cancer is one of the cancer with kind of high mortality rates or death rates, okay, which is actually even higher than the ovary and also the pancreatic cancer.
Yeah, but talking about silent cancer, why known as silent cancer? Because even though there are many symptoms that show you that you have esophagus cancer, but some is that it's quite light, that you didn't know how to differentiate, and you're unaware of it. So here we have few symptoms that show you whether you have, take note whether you have esophageal.
What are the signs and symptoms? Alright, so before we go deep into the signs and symptoms of esophageal cancer, probably some of you would have wondering, why does drinking hot foods or drinks can lead to esophageal cancer? Now, esophageal cancer is a very sensitive, very soft kind of tissues and cells over there. So if you consistently drinking hot foods or liquids, okay, if you imagine seeing this piping hot cup of drinks, okay, or your soup that you can still see smoke appearing or it's really hot actually, could lead to something called thermal injury. It's like a burning sensation towards your esophageal lining. Sometimes you imagine sometimes you drink the hot tea, right? And then when you drink the first cup or first mouthful, and then it's like, oh, it's too hot. Then you can feel the sensation over it, all right? So prolonged or thermal injury to your esophageal lining can lead to cells dying, and then the cells will grow again. And then you do the same thing again, the cells will die, and then it will grow again, all right? So these chronic or these processes can lead to chronic inflammation and can even prompt you to cancer cells formation.
Wow.
So this is actually what we call as long process, and it's actually important for us to note that not just the types of drinks that you drink, but also in the temperature of the drinks matters as well.
Yes, because we know tea is a very good food, good drink. Tea is filled with antioxidants, like anti-aging, and have all sorts of good effects. But if you drink it in a wrong way, in a very hot temperature, then it will be a damage to your esophagus. Yes,
correct. Even coffee. Okay, some of us will like, oh, you must put hot water into the coffee beans or the ground coffee, then only you get the aroma. You know, the aromatics will appear. But apparently, if you use too hot water, all right, and you drink it when it's piping hot, you are also at risk, okay? Why not, after you have made it, okay, keep it cool for about 10 minutes, all right? Let the temperature come down a little bit, and then only you drink, okay? Then it will actually save you from all these hazards, all right? Now, talking about the esophageal cancer, now it's time for us to look at what are the signs and symptoms of the esophageal cancer.
First, we have pain or difficulty when swallowing. So this is kind of a, I can't decide whether it is a very distinct or not non-distinct symptoms, because when we are eating foods, when we swallow it, we feel some painness, but sometimes we think, oh, maybe I'm just having sore throat.
Yes,
maybe the food is just quite
or maybe
hard.
indigestion.
Yeah, indigestion.
You're having bloating. That's why the food doesn't go in. All right. Yes, and sometimes because imagine, as you say, esophagus is actually a food pipe. So it actually has a limited diameter. So imagine sometimes there's a growth, okay, blocking the passage, all right? Definitely you will have some feeling of uneasiness, okay, or something that is obstructing your food pipe.
Yeah, but many people will be unaware of this because when we feel painless when we're eating, swallowing, then we start to change our eating ways, change our way of preparing the food. Maybe we chew it longer, make it smaller pieces,
or even make it longer so that it becomes softer.
And some people will think that I will change to more softer food or liquid food, but maybe in the long term when they've started to feel, even when they're swallowing liquid on soft food, they even feel the painness, then only they will are aware of the seriousness of this problem.
Yes, correct. And another symptom that you could see is chronic coughing, okay, or even the voice tend to become very hoarse, okay, very rough. Sometimes why is because when there is what we say an obstruction or growth at the esophagus, okay, the voice itself, okay, it can change. Okay? It can actually lead to what we say. Imagine you should have a very soft-spoken voice. Okay, your voice box, but at the end now it turns to be very hoarse, and even after clearing your throat, okay, it doesn't seem to improve.
Yeah, some even saying that the cancer cell, because we know cancer cells will spread.
Yes,
some even observe that the cancer cells, when they growth on your laryngeal nerves, then you start to change the way you sound.
Yes, your voice will also change. And another thing is frequent choking when eating. Okay, some people they find it that probably as they age, okay, they start to get choke very easily when they eat, okay, whether it's noodles, they eat rice, or even hard foods, okay, those foods with very big chunks, okay, when they start to swallow it, and then they will start choking, okay. Again, what's the reason? There is a growth, there is an abnormality, there is an obstruction to the esophagus. So that's why when the food tries to go in, okay, but it's being blocked, and then there's an automatic reflex, okay, for the esophagus to pull out the food. So that's where you have the choking sensation.
Yes. Next we have indigestion and heartburn. So why heartburn? Because we know some people when they have acid reflux, means that the acid in the stomach come up to the esophagus, because the acid should stay in the stomach and actually, but when you have some unhealthy lifestyle, unhealthy eating habit, overweight, then the acid somehow will like go revert
to the esophagus. So sometimes we know people like they tend to have a burning sensation, the heartburn, or even they have what we say like to eat spicy foods, okay, or even those citrus foods, okay, all these can lead to a lot of acid production. And if you are a frequent meal skipper, okay, you don't take your meal on time, you could also lead to something called the acid reflux. And don't forget, acid reflux is also one of the risk factors of getting esophageal cancer.
Yeah, because you know our esophagus is not designed to withstand a very acidic environment. So the acid will start slowly to damage your cells in your esophagus lining.
Correct. So when they digest the cells, okay, the cells die. Again, the cells will grow again, and again the same thing happens. So over many cycles, this could actually again put you at higher risk of cancerous cells formation.
Yes. Next, we have pressure in the chest area. So this is also one of the symptoms, maybe due to the heartburn. Okay, and lastly, we have unintended weight loss. Why esophageal cancer will cause weight loss?
Now imagine just now we said, right, when someone they have the pain or difficulty when swallowing, so they actually change their dietary habits, okay, to make food softer or to eat more of the liquid or soft foods or even pureed foods. So they don't feel comfortable eating, okay, because they find pain or uneasiness. So over time they will reduce their food intake. So when you reduce the food intake gradually over time, this will actually lead to lack of energy intake. So when prolonged lack of energy intake, it will actually prompt to unintentional weight loss.
Yes, some people with esophageal cancer, they are found to be anemic or have black stool. Why? Because when their esophagus become narrow, when they're swallowing, they feel painless, but they ignore it. Then will cause scratches on the lining of the esophagus, and there's blood shedding. But in the long term, when there's a long-term blood shedding, then you will have anemia, and when the blood comes to your stool, then your stool will have the
black color. So this is something similar to when someone has stomach ulcers, okay, or even bleeding ulcers. So when it passes through the large intestines, eventually it will come out as a dark red stools or dark black stools. Okay, so these are the signs and symptoms that you could actually look at. Well, we're not saying that when you have one or two symptoms, you could actually have esophageal cancer. It is a collection of symptoms, and probably you already have the risk factors as we mentioned. Okay, so what are the risk factors? Aside from drinking hot foods, okay, or drinks, there are also other lifestyle factors, including, for example, smoking, including alcohol drinking, because they actually find that one of the reasons why drinking hot foods or drinks, okay, and getting esophageal cancer is more prevalent in people who are already a smoker or alcohol drinker, because when your esophagus become more vulnerable, very thin and then damaged, it's easier for the toxins, okay, from the alcohol, from the cigarette smoking to enter into the body. All right, so these are the few lifestyle factors and already recognized as a risk factors for esophageal cancer. But there are also other eating habits, okay, that we do not encourage you to practice, all right, because these eating habits could lead to you having esophageal cancer as well.
So the first one, eating very hot foods and drinks, as we mentioned, which is above 65 degrees Celsius. And then the next one, binge eating and drinking. Wow, binge eating. I know recently I think many people like to watch those mukbang. ASMR, seeing those YouTubers eating a lot of foods in a very fast way we can't imagine. But this practice actually really like hurt
your stomach, because our stomach, well, it can expand, okay, but it is not to the extent that in one meal setting, if you eat a whole load of food, it's going to damage the stomach lining, it's going to expand the lining. But at the same time, if you had too much of food, okay, it may also trigger gastric or acid reflux. And when acid refluxes into the esophagus, again, you may have the risk of esophageal cancer.
Yes, and next we have overeating spicy foods. So actually, it's not say that you cannot eat spicy food. Spicy food, like a lot of spices, peppers, they are good to our body. But when you are eating them in a very frequently, or your spiciness maybe is already at the top.
Yes, sometimes we go to the mala hot pot restaurant. They actually have a selection of the spiciness rating from 1 chili to 2 chilies and then up to 5 chilies. So some people, they like to challenge themselves. They want to go for the highest ultimatum level of spiciness. So they will aim for that. And over time, you actually get used to this spiciness. And without knowingly, you already put your esophagus at a very high risk, because it's very irritating, okay, to the esophagus lining. And again, even others like, for example, tom yum, okay, curry mee, even sometimes we eat those noodles, we like to eat a lot of chilies, okay, a lot of those.
Malaysians, we like to, when we are eating any kind of food, we like to accompany it with the bird's eye chili with the soy sauce and garlic.
The chili padi, you know, sometimes the food is not nice, it's okay, because we have chili padi. Okay, some people, they really do that. As long as they have chili padi, any foods they can take in. But too much of chilies or too much of anything that is good is not good for our body as well, all right? So do take note, it's not that we don't ask you to take any spicy foods, but you have to limit it, okay? It's not every single meal, all right? Now, next is chewing betel nuts. Okay, do you know what's this betel nuts?
I don't know. It looks like some kind of alien fruit to me.
No, this is what we call as the Penang fruits. Okay, in Taiwan they actually use it as ping lang. Okay, let them chew the ping lang. All right. Now, what is this ping lang? It's because it contains these alkaloids. Okay, these alkaloids that are considered as a carcinogenic food, meaning cancer-causing food. And it has been already recognized by the World Health Organization that it is one of the class 2A carcinogen, meaning it is sort of confirmed it is a carcinogen, all right? So if you consume these betel nuts, keep chewing it, you release the alkaloids, okay? People who always eat betel nuts or Penang fruits, okay, this can actually lead to higher risk of oral cancer, okay, or mouth cancer. And of course, as it travels down, okay, the food pipe, it could also lead to a higher risk of esophageal cancer.
So yeah, I remember I think I saw people chewing something, then their teeth stain is red color.
Yes, correct. So that's actually the color pigment of the betel nuts.
But I think nowadays less people are eating this in Malaysia but in other countries, in Taiwan, they are still.
It's actually quite common among Indians. Yeah, over here in Malaysia. So that's also the reason why oral cancer is quite prevalent among Indian communities.
Okay, lastly, we have frequent use of smoked, barbecued, and preserved foods. I think we can't run away from these 3 types of foods in our daily diet.
Now, let me ring a bell to you, okay? Do you remember char siu? Do you remember those what they call this shao rou, okay, which is the roasted pork. Okay, we had to enjoy it together with the roasted duck, or with curry meat. They don't put the roasted pork on top of it. Or even if you go to Korean restaurants, they have all the Korean barbecue all the way, all night. That's where the risk could come in. Why? Because these kind of foods, right, you see smoking, smoked foods, barbecue foods, or even preserved foods. Okay, smoke and also barbecue uses very high temperature, and it's direct contact with the heat source. All right, so this can actually changes the molecules of the protein. Then when we eat the foods, okay, it's actually putting you at a higher risk of esophageal cancer as well.
Yeah, for barbecue food, we know not only the smell. Sometimes we like to watch when you barbecue maybe some meat. We like to watch a juice coming out from the meat and then drip onto the charcoal. That sound so satisfying.
Yes,
but
correct.
actually, when the meat juice drop into the charcoal and the char, the flame, the smoke actually brings a lot of carcinogens, and then when they attach to the meat that you eat, I know it's very flavorful, it's smoky flavor, but then that comes to the negative effect of these carcinogens into your body.
Yes, so correct, because even in the Western countries, they like to do grilled foods, okay? Because we always think that grill is probably a healthier choice than probably using deep frying. But do not forget, okay, foods, especially the starchy foods, the protein foods, when it comes to very high temperatures, the structures will change, okay? When the structures change, you will never notice even there are those carcinogens happening. Some people, they see, or they take the roast pork, right? Or they eat the char siu, right? Then they saw the very burnt kind of skin.
I think some people really like to pick the burnt part to eat.
Okay?
Yeah.
Or some people, they're very particular. Okay, I remove the burnt part. Okay, they think it's safer. But actually, all the the changes have already happened within the protein food itself. So even though you have removed the charred or the burnt part, you are still having all the carcinogens in it.
Yeah. So if maybe you think, oh, then I don't want to eat smoke and barbecue food already. But now actually I don't know if the sausage, the ham they eat every day still considered one of type of preserved food, which contains, because they use a lot of preservatives.
Yes, like nitrites, okay, to make it very red, very appealing type of color, very fresh. Some people say because it's a very pinkish red kind of color, but this is actually coming from the preservatives nitrites. So nitrites have already been recognized as one of the carcinogens, okay, cancer-causing food that is linked to the stomach cancer. So even stomach is linked to the esophagus. So esophagus is not running away from these health risks as well.
Yes. So now we know which eating habits will lead you to esophageal cancer.
Correct.
But instead of this, we want to show you some ways. What can you do to stay away from it further?
Yes, so number one would be to quit smoking and stop binge drinking. Now when we say, because just like we have mentioned before, alcohol drinking and also smoking have already been classified as the top one, okay, carcinogen or cancer-causing lifestyle factors, all right? So it is most importantly, you have to do this too, okay? Quit smoking or limit smoking and to reduce your alcoholic drinking habit.
Yeah, and research has shown that actually when you smoke, you have 5 times higher risk of getting into esophageal cancer.
Yes, correct. That's the, not even esophageal cancer, even all types of cancer, they are pretty much linked to smoking and alcoholic drinking. All right, next will be to maintain a healthy weight.
Yeah, we know obese or overweight are greatly associated with esophageal cancer and even a lot of chronic diseases.
Yes, correct. Because remember, just now we say overweight or obese people, they tend to have higher risk of acid reflux, okay, or GERD. Okay, when acid refluxes into the esophagus, it can actually lead to the adenocarcinoma as well.
Yes, imagine when you have a big belly, when you're overweight, then this belly will put a lot of pressure on your stomach.
Yes.
And then when your stomach is being like deflated, imagine a balloon, you put something heavy on top.
You just press it.
Then the acid inside will flush up.
Yes, correct. It's either go up or down, all right? So this is what happens if you are overweight and yet you still have binge eating, okay? And that's where the risk will actually be higher. Next will be to reduce and manage heartburn. Now these are actually more related to acid reflux, okay? Because acid reflux is also one of the risk factors for esophageal cancer. Number one would be to look for foods that can actually trigger heartburn. Okay, heartburn meaning that you may notice that some foods after you eat, you don't feel very comfortable. There is like, a lot of these acid juice coming out. So what are these foods? One will be including those with caffeine. Okay, for example, coffee, tea, or even chocolate drinks, or even energy drinks. Okay, these are all containing caffeine. And another one would be spicy and also hard to digest foods.
Hard to digest food, including those very oily, fried food,
Yes.
or even high sugar food. Some people might find it very hard to digest high fat and sugar foods.
Yes, correct. And even next would be avoid overeating. Okay, if you already have heartburn, do remember the most important is to have a proper meal timing. All right, do not skip meal. Make sure there's a 4 to 5 hours gap between your main meals. And of course, do not overeating. Okay, do not binge eating. Sometimes the people say, "Aiya, today I'm too busy. I didn't have time for my lunch. So dinner I ate like a king." So after that, when you go back home, I'll straight away lie down and then you start to enjoy your leisure activities. That's where your risk of this acid reflux will be higher as well.
Yeah, so you can try to take smaller meals throughout the day. For example, if you only take 3 meals a day, but you want to make it fuller throughout the day, isn't it? So you eat a lot. But instead of just this, you can separate the 3 meals into 5 smaller meals.
Yes, so probably keep some handy snacks with you. For example, nuts, seeds, okay, or even fruits that can actually munch on when you're feeling hungry, so that your stomach doesn't go very empty at all the times, all right? And of course, coming back to the topic today, which is only eating warm or human body temperature foods.
Yeah, we put the human body temperature because the warm, some people may not know how.
It's very subjective.
It's very subjective,
yes.
yeah.
So what we say that is because our mouth lining, okay, our oral and also our esophagus, they are more comfortable with human body temperature, that's for sure. But if you want something warm, we will actually recommend to take it less than 60 degrees Celsius. Okay, between 50 to 60 would be the best for your body and also for your own meal pleasure satisfaction.
Yes, and then practice healthy eating habits such as no snacking before bed and chew properly. So before bed, try to have a 2 to 3 hour gaps of your dinner time, and definitely no snacking, no midnight snacks. Yeah.
Yes, correct. It's best to avoid eating anything at least 1 to 2 hours before your bed, okay, so that we doesn't want to burden our stomach too much and there's not too much of acid being produced.
Yes.
All right? And of course, to sleep on an incline meaning you have to elevate the head of the bed to at least 20 to 30 degrees so that it doesn't lie flat. Okay, it's not totally flat, because when you're flat, of course, it's easier for the acid to reflux into the esophagus.
Yeah. Lastly, avoid wearing clothes that are too tight. This is also one of the tips, especially for ladies. Yeah, we know we love the very tiny waist, very flat belly.
Yes,
but when
correct.
you are very too tight attire, then it will like having a pressure on your stomach, which also will kind of irritate your acid to go up to the esophagus.
Correct. So it's very important to keep loose clothing, okay, especially when you are very full, all right, or loosen out your belt, all right, so that your belly doesn't get blocked, all right, and allow the food to actually move properly, all right. And lastly will be, of course, okay, for all the disease, you have to make sure to eating a balanced and healthy diet, okay, that's for all the disease prevention.
Yes, remember to take those veggies, colorful veggies, and also fibers, whole grains, because we know fiber is very good for all kind of chronic disease and even cancer. It can help to manage your healthy weight and also helps to prevent all sorts of sickness.
Yes, correct. So take home messages for today. Now, if you are what we say, someone who really loves hot foods or drinks, or you like to tapao, all those hot soup, okay, from outside, or drink hot tea, think twice, okay, at least after you have brewed the coffee or tea, let it sit, okay, for a while, okay, you can do some housework, do some new reading, and then later on come back to your tea and coffee. That would at least save your time and of course be what we say, healthier to your body as well.
Yes, especially working adults. Sometimes when I think many working adults, when they first step into the office, they go to
pantry
and make some tea, prepare some beverage. Then before you want to take it near to your mouth to sip, think twice.
Yes, or at least try with your tongue first. Okay, if it's too hot, let it cool down a little bit, then only you drink. All right. So till then, I think that's all for our sharing today. Okay. So hope you enjoy our sharing, and if you like our sharing, don't forget to like, comment, and share with all your friends and family who also like hot foods and drinks. All right. And I believe next round we are gonna have more information and health sharing with everyone here.
Okay, so I'm Wenxin.
I'm Jeremy.
See you.
Next
Bye-bye.
time. Bye bye.